So,
there. Okay, so imagine this. You have to build a whole civilization, a thriving one, right in the middle of a scorching desert. Almost no rain.
sounds impossible, doesn't it?
Exactly. But, the ancient peoples along the Iran and Mesopotamia line, they didn't just survive there. They engineered these water systems. The scale is just staggering, like modern infrastructure.
They literally made the desert bloom in a way.
Yeah, they found a way to give it a heartbeat, powered by water.
And that's really what we're diving into today. The sources we've looked at, they reveal this incredible network. We're calling it the underground veins of the East.
I like that. Underground veins.
It's more than just old pipes, though. We're trying to distill the spirit behind it, the technology, sure, but also the cultural echo these systems left behind. Qanats, Anbars, these legendary water sites.
Right. And we think this deep dive is kind of a shortcut for you, the listener. It helps understand humanity's long, complex relationship with water.
And it's incredibly relevant, thinking about our own water crises today.
Totally. When you grasp the sheer ingenuity needed back then just to get by, our modern problems look, well, different. You see them in a new light. The scope is just breathtaking. We really have to start with the star player, the most impressive bit of ancient plumbing imaginable, the Qanat system. Okay, let's jump right in. The sources, they really hammer home the scale. We're talking ancient Persian engineers digging tunnels.
Yeah.
Underground tunnels for hundreds of kilometers.
Oh, it's almost unbelievable.
How did they even manage that? The labor, understanding the land.
Well, the fascinating part is it wasn't random digging. A Qanat works by tapping into water sources high up in the mountains, usually aquifers.
Yeah.
They called the main source the mother well.
The mother well, okay.
And then, crucially, they used gravity. They engineered these tunnels with a very slight, incredibly precise slope, just a gentle gradient, maybe a few degrees drop over miles and miles.
Wow. So the water flows steadily.
Exactly. Steadily, but not so fast. It erodes the tunnel. It's all underground, remember?
Right. Which defeats the biggest enemy in the desert evaporation.
Precisely. So you need this advanced grasp of hydrogeology, of surveying, all without GPS or lasers or anything.
That's manpower and incredible skill. And get this. To build and maintain them, they needed vertical shafts. They're called. Dug down to the main tunnel every, say, 50 to 100 meters. Wait, not for drawing water?
No, mostly for digging out the spoil, for ventilation during construction, and crucially, for maintenance access later. Imagine coordinating that over hundreds of kilometers.
One blockage could jeopardize a whole city's water supply.
Right. Which brings us to the cultural side you mentioned. Yeah, the sources talk about this really beautiful idea, a silent agreement between humans and nature. It suggests a deep respect, doesn't it? Not conquering nature, but collaborating with it.
Working with the water.
And that collaboration had to extend into the community. A Qanat needed complex rules. Who maintains which shaft? How is the water shared downstream, often based on time allocations?
So it wasn't just engineering, it was social engineering too.
Absolutely. It was low-tech, yes, but profoundly sustainable because it relied on collective responsibility, shared buy-in.
It really makes you look sideways at our giant dams and power-hungry pumps today, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, if they could create a perpetual sustainable flow with just hand tools and smarts, minimal environmental hit, what's the lesson for adapting to climate change now?
Patience, I think. Deep understanding of the local conditions. That often wins out over high-tech force.
That deep, patient understanding.
That's the key. Now, okay, so these arteries, the Qanats, they bring the lifeblood, the water, into the cities. But then what?
Right. Transport is one thing. Storage is another. Especially keeping it cool and clean through those blistering summers.
Which leads us perfectly from transport to architecture. The genius of the Anbar.
The silent reservoirs of cities. I love that description from the sources. These huge domed cisterns built right under Iranian cities.
They really were the ultimate fusion of hard labor and clever architecture. Essential city infrastructure, but beautiful too.
And not just big tanks, right? They were designed for preservation.
Sophisticated climate control units, basically. Passive climate control.
You look at the design, the thick walls, digging them deep underground, using natural materials to seal them. It's all about thermal mass, keeping the heat out.
Exactly. The complete opposite of a modern surface reservoir baking in the sun.
But the real magic, the sources say, are the wind towers. The Badger.
The Badger. Yes, absolutely critical. This is advanced thinking, like fluid dynamics level stuff. These towers would catch the prevailing winds and funnel the air down into the cistern space right above the water.
Hold on, wouldn't that bring hot desert air in? How does that cool anything?
But that's the brilliant part. As that warmer air moves down and passes over the cooler surface of the stored water, what happens?
Evaporation.
Bingo! Evaporative cooling. Even a little bit of evaporation cools both the water surface and the air directly above it.
Okay, I see.
That cooler, denser air then sinks, and it pushes the warmer, more humid, stale air up and out through other vents or towers. It creates this constant natural air conditioning cycle.
Wow. No electricity needed?
None at all.
Yep.
It could lower the water temperature significantly, maybe 10, even 15 degrees Celsius below the outside air temp, kept it fresh, potable.
Just by understanding pressure, airflow, thermodynamics, and using the right shapes and materials, form and function perfectly merged for survival.
It's that integrated, sustainable loop, underground transport, underground passively cooled storage. It's why it's such a powerful model for resilience, even now. They worked with the environment.
They were adapted to it. Yeah, they didn't just try to overpower it.
Which brings us to maybe the most profound part of this whole story, I think.
Okay.
Water in this part of the world, it was never just a technical puzzle to be solved. It was spiritual, tied up with the very rock, the geology, and the myths people told.
Right. So let's go underground again, but this time into places nature carved. The Ali Sadr Cave.
Yes, Ali Sadr. It's immense. One of the world's biggest water caves. Think of it as nature's Qanat, a huge network of flooded chambers you can boat through.
Imagine discovering that, finding this seemingly endless supply of pure water deep beneath the parched earth.
It must have felt miraculous. The sources say this is where the echo of water turned into legend. You can see why.
It makes the Qanat diggers seem almost like they were copying nature's sacred work.
It does. But the cave also highlights a very modern problem, attention. The paradox of tourism versus conservation. We want people to see this natural wonder, right? But bringing crowds in inevitably puts pressure on the cave's delicate ecosystem, the water quality, the rock formations.
Finding that balance between celebrating it and protecting it.
It's a constant struggle.
And then moving from these huge natural systems, the sources mention something called the Forgotten Wells. Sites where, as the narrative puts it, wells can become caves and caves can become inants, which means...
This means belief or faith, deeply held conviction. And we need to look at places like Chadaria. The sources frame it as much more than just a hole in the ground to get water. It's a symbol.
A symbol of what?
Of humanity's ancient search for water. These specific spots become living stories of survival. The physical act of digging, searching, hoping. It merges with the faith you need to even believe water can be found there.
So the well itself becomes sacred somehow.
In a way, yes. The cultural connection is incredibly strong. Iranian folk mythologies, especially, weave this tight thread between nature, the desert reality, humanity, the labor, the ingenuity, and this profound belief in water as a life-giving, almost divine force.
Nature, humanity, and belief, all interconnected.
That synthesis is vital. These systems, Qanats and Anbars, they lasted for millennia, partly because the engineering was sound, yes, but also because society valued them. They were protected by shared beliefs, communal responsibility.
That ensured they were maintained, that the water was shared fairly.
Exactly. The social fabric was as important as the physical structure.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main pillars we've covered in this deep dive. First, the incredible scale and precision engineering of the Qanat system for water transport.
Right, those underground arteries.
Second, the ingenious passive cooling architecture of the Anbar for urban water storage.
The silent reservoirs with their badger.
And third, the deep spiritual and geological significance of water, seen in natural wonders like Ali Sadr Cave and symbolic sites like Chadaria.
And the technical legacy from all this is really about designing for resilience.
How so?
Well, think about the Qanat operation, constant flow, almost zero energy input. Or the badger using wind for cooling. This is timeless technical knowledge. It's a masterclass in sustainable design passed down through generations.
Showing that sustainability often comes from clever simplicity, not necessarily more complexity.
Precisely.
It really leaves you with this powerful thought, doesn't it? That maybe the solutions to our future resource problems aren't just about the next big invention.
But maybe hidden in these forgotten wells of the past.
In systems that show deep respect for both the earth and the water itself.
Which leads to a final question, really, for you, the listener, to think about. These ancient systems, they were born from absolute necessity, from the harsh reality of desert survival.
Right.
And that pressure cooker environment forced them to be more than just technically brilliant. They had to be woven into the culture, into the mythology, into people's beliefs. That three-way connection: nature, human ingenuity, and belief. Exactly. So the question is, what essential wisdom, what resilience does our modern planning lose when it often ignores that powerful ancient connection, when it treats resources purely as commodities, detached from place and people's deeper values?
It's something to definitely mull over. The next time you turn on a tap, maybe think about that silent agreement those ancient engineers made with the desert. That was the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.